How do we develop self-confidence? Welcome to episode 6 of Becoming a Champion. In my newest book, The Champion Leader, the way that I began to look at how we define self-confidence comes down to 3 simple things: preparation, experience, and mindset. In this 3-part series, we'll kick off episodes 6, 7, and 8 with talking about how we do define what self-confidence is. We're going to begin today with preparation, and I wanted to read you a section of my book, The Champion Leader, that kind of gets us to that point. And a lot of where I arrived from a self-confidence standpoint comes back to Albert Bandura's self-efficacy approach, to self-efficacy theory. So what he wrote about when it comes to self-efficacy, he defined it as people's judgments of their capabilities to organize and execute courses of action required to attain designated types of performances. So I'll read that again. People's judgments of their capabilities to organize and execute courses of action required to attain designated types of performances. So self-efficacy, in so many ways, it applies to the belief that we can succeed in specific situations. Confidence applies more to our belief in our abilities and where that belief even comes from in the first place. It comes from thought, it comes from the actions that we take, and again, it comes from the experiences that we have. According to Bandura, a higher self-efficacy means that we often perform better and increase in motivation and self-confidence. So he breaks down, there's 4 different parts of self-efficacy, and you'll see how this kind of relates to the way that we see ourselves from a self-confidence standpoint. So the 4 sources of self-efficacy are what he calls mastery experiences or performances. So just the act, the doing, that thing that we do. It could be delivering a talk in a meeting. It could be having a conversation with someone that you work with. Parenting-wise, it could just be the actions or the words that you took with one of your children. So mastery experiences or performances. Number 2, vicarious experiences. So observing others. What do we learn from the models out there, or whether good or bad, so to speak, people that we might be observing? What do we learn through vicarious experiencing of observing others? Number 3, verbal persuasion. Words of encouragement. Positive affirmations, recognition, appreciation. And number 4, physiological and emotional states, which is where so much about emotional intelligence comes into play. It's our feelings. So those 4 sources of self-efficacy that significantly affect our self-confidence come back to performances, observing others, words of encouragement, and our feelings. It's how we negotiate with each of those and make sense of each of those that have a prominent influence on our self-confidence. So let's go back to where it really does begin, which is number 1, which is preparation. So let's even define what preparation is when it comes to self-confidence. And simply put, it's the work that we put in to get us to a performance, or as Bandura defines it, a mastery experience. It's everything that leads up to that moment. But really, preparation is more than just what leads up to the performance. It's kind of all 4 of those things combined. It's what we gain in preparation from observing others or practicing ourselves. It's those words of encouragement. It's the sources of motivation that we seek. It's our own words of affirmation around self-awareness and self-motivation, which are huge parts of emotional intelligence that matter so much. And it's our physiological and emotional state, which is going to tie back more to the 3rd part of self-confidence, which is mindset. But preparation-wise, it's really an approach to overall wellness: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, all those things that we do to take care of ourselves that matter in how we perform. Why? So I think about this being a professional speaker, being a keynote speaker. A lot of my preparation when I go in to deliver a speech is a lot more than just writing something out or verbally memorizing words. It's all the things that I do to take care of myself, to get into the right mindset, yes, but it's the self-care regimen. It's things that I do preparation-wise other than just the writing or the rehearsal of the speech to build my own confidence. It's visualization, seeing myself in that situation. It's all that I do to learn about an audience, to know about who it is that I'm speaking with. What are their challenges? What are their concerns? And what are ways that I can solve them? That's just one small example of my own life. I ask you to think about and reflect on, when it comes to self-confidence, what does preparation look like for you? If you're delivering a performance review to someone, if you're a leader or you're a manager delivering a performance review to someone, you want to put a lot of thought into your words, and you want to prepare in terms of how you deliver that. How we say things oftentimes matters just as much as what we say. So your tone of voice, your body language, taking a positive and empathetic approach, a caring one that shows that you're genuinely concerned about someone's career development, and it's not just, if there is negative feedback, delivering that in such a way that makes somebody feel either ridiculed or attacked. So the preparation comes from all the aspects of forming and massaging the social skill of what we say to somebody. So think about that if you're preparing to have a challenging conversation with someone, or if you're delivering a performance review where someone is going to be getting feedback that is really going to lead them to needing to make significant improvements. The preparation involved on your part will go into the nuances of the words that you say. What do you want the outcomes to be? What feedback do you want to get from that person? How do you want to structure that conversation? Even thinking about one-on-one meetings, thinking about what you want to include in that agenda, but also empowering the person that you meet with to own pieces of that agenda and bring that into the conversation. Even for yourself, leading a team meeting, delivering a significant keynote presentation to the larger company, especially if you're at the C-suite level in your organization. Thinking of all of the key points that you want to deliver. And what I recommend when people are delivering presentations of that nature, preparation-wise, you want to focus on at most 4 points, but maybe 3 key areas, 3 key takeaways that you want people to have from when you connect. And repeat those things throughout and connect it back to stories that you tell, to positive accomplishments that the team has achieved, to the goals overall that you have. So being able to focus in on just a couple of things. Preparation oftentimes comes back to doing the work. It comes back to being prioritized, and it comes back to being structured. I know that when I have been successful in my own life, in all of the different endeavors that I've had, whether it was writing a book, whether it was delivering a speech, whether it was working with a client to coach them on achieving their goals, I have always been more successful when I've been prioritized, when I have managed my time successfully, when I've highlighted the goals that I want to accomplish, those big rocks, but then I've built in those tactical measures of the things that I need to do on that to-do list to be able to accomplish whatever it is I set out to do. So preparation in and of itself is a form of planning, or as I like to famously call it, strategy. If you are strategic, you are well prepared. It takes a time investment. And the question really comes back to, are you willing to put in that time? It's not a great idea to just show up to a speech and come cold, is it? It's not a great idea to come into any meeting just cold. Even when you're beginning a new project or a new strategic initiative for the first time, there should be a lot of thought that goes into that. There should be frequent conversations that need to take place to educate and influence people on what it is that you're trying to do and how you need their help along the way to come together as a team so that you function at a high level. That's so much of the preparation piece of why self-confidence is really about 3 things: preparation, experience, and mindset. So I ask you to reflect in this episode of Becoming a Champion and to think about, what does preparation mean for you? Is it the reading that you have to put in? Is it the writing, so to speak, that you have to put in? Is it aligning goals and initiatives and getting on the same page expectation-wise with people in your organization? And you can apply this both personally and professionally. Preparation often begins with having time alone for yourself to plan, to strategize, and to begin to look at what needs to be done in your life personally and professionally. That is what sets you up for success, and the best success is attained when you're confident, which often comes back to having structure, being prioritized, being very, very well prepared. So we discuss the trilogy of self-confidence today. We started with preparation, experience, and mindset. As a recap, Albert Bandura's self-efficacy theory. Mastery experiences, number one, or performances. Number two, vicarious experiences, what we observe from others and what we learn from those experiences. Number three, verbal persuasion, words of encouragement or recognition or appreciation. And the last one, physiological and emotional states, which we're going to talk a lot more about in mindset in the third part of this trilogy on self-confidence. Today was preparation. Next week, we'll share a little bit more about what you can take away and learn from experiences and the power of experiences, both positive and negative, and how they help us to build confidence and allow us to move forward with clarity, confidence, and conviction. This is Christopher D. Connors. Thanks for watching Becoming a Champion. See you next week.